Hey guys, Coach Michael Burr here, the Super Coach. Welcome to another edition of Good Coach, Bad Coach. Secrets the great coaches know that others never figured out. And we're now up on Stitcher Radio, which has become my new favorite app. Easy to find, easy to get to. All past podcasts, you can listen to the Super Coach Show, which is my weekly show there, or Good Coach, Bad Coach, or watch us every Sunday night right here on the BurtNetwork.com. Today we're talking good coaches, bad coaches, and these are for all the coaches, the managers, and I don't care if you're a little school coach, a little league coach, a big league coach, a college coach. I just watched where some college teams got put out of the tournament, and this will affect you no matter what level you're at. If you're managing a team, if you're leading a team, then what we're talking about in Good Coach, Bad Coach is really right on the money, because here's the deal. If you knew the habits of a good coach, why in the world would you ever be a bad coach? So here's the topic today. Great coaches meet their players where they are and bring their level up. Bad coaches expect those players to somehow magically figure out how to get to their level. Now let me tell you where this originally started. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was consulting a major university. I won't say which university, but it was one of the biggest conferences in the country. And I walked in on day one, and I talked to key players, key people. I talked to the trainer. I talked to the team psychologist. I talked to the coaches. I talked to the players. And it was obvious to me that there was a huge divide between the players and the coaches. Now, this is very important, because the last thing you want to do when you're building a great team is build an adversarial relationship between you and your players. So the key is to get buy-in versus get them off the page that you're on. The great coaches get buy-in. The great coaches get belief. The great coaches get confidence. And so I was talking to this, and it was really interesting to me, because on day one I figured out there's no buy-in here. There's no buy-in between the players and the coaches and the coaches and the players. And so I asked the team psychiatrist or team therapist, I asked the trainer, what's the problem? Well, coaches don't like the players don't like the coaches. Coaches spend all of their time talking down to the players, and the players feel like they're not on their level. So the players can't get to the level that the coaches want, and the coaches won't come down to the level where the players are. So I'm talking to the coach, and the coach says to me, hey, they got to get on my schedule, my system. They got to get on my page. And so me trying to help this coach, I went back and I tried to figure this out. And I come to this conclusion. A 17-year-old, 18-year-old, a 19-year-old can never get on the page of a 45-year-old. They've got 20-something years more experience, 20-something years of wins and losses under their belt, 20-something years of things that they know that other people don't know. And so what the coach has got to do is got to meet them where they are. So if you're out there listening today, you got to understand this. Each of your players come to you, some with batteries included and some without batteries included. Some are ready to go. They have some knowledge, some skill, some desire, some confidence. You have some that have very little skill, very little knowledge, very little desire, very little confidence. Your job is to take them from where they are and get them to another level, which implies you have to be the teacher and professor that comes down off the pedestal to understand where your players are and to meet them where they are. You see, one thing won't let you do this is your ego. You're here for a reason. You're really good at what you do, but they're not quite as good as you are. And because they're not as good as you are, you stay frustrated with them all of the time, and likewise, them frustrated with you. So what we as good coaches have to do is we have to step back and assess, where are our players at? Where are they actually at? How can we meet them where they are in their life and build them versus tear them down? See, what takes years to build up can take seconds to tear down. Most bad coaches expect this. Those players can get on our wavelength. So I want you to think of this. How did you become a good coach? How did you become a head coach? Well, you became a head coach because you had a certain level of aptitude. You had a certain level of confidence. You had a certain level of skills that you were promoted to the highest level. Here's the deal. Not even your assistant coaches or your trainers or your therapists are quite where you're at yet. They're on their way, and they're trying to get there. Behind every great number one is a great number two. But when it comes to your players and the people you're coaching, what you know comes easily could come very, very difficult for them. You see, they're actually looking to you for the knowledge and skills and desire and confidence. So if you spend all your time talking about how they should get on your level, it's actually a myth. You're here, and they're here. You can spend all of your time griping about why they can't get there, or you can spend your time coming down here and elevating their status, elevating their level of play. So you say, well, Coach, how do I do this? Number one, it starts by diagnosing every player in 4 areas: body, mind, heart, spirit. Knowledge, skill, desire, confidence. When you look at your players, you say they're deficient or have missing structures in this area, and my job as their coach is to elevate their game. The first myth you got to remember is they're not on your level. Here's the reality. If we fast forward 20 years down the road and you're 20 years older than you are today and they're 20 years older than they are today, guess what? They still won't be on your level. There will always be a gap. That's why there's a coach, and that's why they're a player. You know, when I was in high school, my high school coach called me professor. He said, one of these days you're going to be a coach. You're going to be a great coach because of the way you think and because of the way you dissect and because of the way you think ahead, because of the way you see the whole team. He was telling me one of these days you're going to be a great coach. But here's the deal. I wasn't a great coach then. He was my coach. I was the player. He was the leader. I was the follower. So if you're out there listening tonight, I'm going to teach you when we come back from the break. I'm going to show you why it's important that you understand there's leaders and there's followers. A great leader is the one that comes down to the level of every single person and elevates their current level versus griping about how they can never get there. You're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach on the Burt Network, or you're listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Podcast Republic. We come back in the next segment. We're going to talk about how you take your deal and go down there and meet those players where they are and understand, just like a child, they need you to meet them where they are. They're not on your level. You can talk to them like adults. You can treat them like adults, but the reality is they're not adults yet. This is Coach Michael Burt, and you're watching Good Coach, Bad Coach. Hey, this is Coach Michael Burt, and I have a prediction. Within the next 5 years, every manager in the world will have to become a coach. You know, a good coach will do 3 things for you. They make you have conversations you don't want to have. They make you do some things you don't want to do. They'll help you become something you didn't think you could become. This transition, what I call the coaching revolution, prompted me to create a program called Turn Your Managers into Coaches. What we want to do is drive up engagement, drive up production. We want to become a manager other people want to follow. If you've got managers out there that you want to turn into coaches that engage people in systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow they simply cannot do today, pick up the phone and call us, 225-8380, 615-225-8380, or email us at info@coachburt.com, and we're going to teach you how to turn your managers into great coaches. Welcome back to Good Coach, Bad Coach. Coach Michael Burt, the Super Coach. Follow me at Michael Burt. You know, I wanted to do this program for a long time. Most of my work is in corporate America, dealing with managers and producers and entrepreneurs. But at my heart, I'm a coach. And I believe there are good coaches in the world and there are bad coaches in the world. And if we could tell you the secret to great coaches, why in the world would you ever become a bad coach? I wrote a book with 10-time championship coach Rick Insell called The Anatomy of Winning. Okay? And in this book, we talk about how you build life, leadership, and success into your organization. How do you become a good coach? Let me ask you a couple questions. Do you believe that good coaches convince other people that they're better than what they really are? Do you believe good coaches meet people wherever they are in life and elevate their level of play? Do you believe good coaches take people from all walks of life and build greatness? Do you believe it's possible to engineer a person to win? Do you believe that every team in America is dysfunctional? That a good coach finds, manages, and mitigates team dysfunction? Do you believe that you can build a school of greatness that grows the body, the mind, the heart, and spirit of your people? Do you believe that life, or basketball, or sport, football, is just a vehicle to teach life skills? And the better you engineer people to win, the more games that you win. Do you believe that you can take losers, people that have traditionally lost in the world, and turn them into winners? If so, you've got the makings and the ingredients of a good coach, because that's what good coaches do. Tonight's topic is about how some bad coaches sit up here in their perch and they expect players to reach their level. I remember not long ago we saw a Rutgers coach that got into a lot of trouble because of the way he spoke to his players, and because when they made mistakes he would actually throw basketballs at them and hit them in practice. Called them stupid, called them a lot of names, and that made national news because he was up here and they were down here. So the more they stayed down here, the more he stayed up here. You can obviously see the gap, the more frustrated he was with them. And instead of getting on their level and trying to elevate that level, he talked down. He was condescending. He pushed their buttons. Now, I would tell you this. We live in a weak society. And what I mean by weak society is very few people have the mental or emotional toughness to take constructive criticism or coaching from other people. They get their feelings hurt, they retreat, they contract, they shut down, they whine, they pout, they feel sorry for themselves, they blame other people, they project. And this is a new society that we live in. When you know that you've got a real winner in the group is when you're building the mental, physical, emotional toughness of a person, that they can even take negative feedback from you, the coach, and actually grow from it versus retract and contrive from it. Now, this starts with you building a culture of expectation. You hear me talk about this a lot. If you don't have a coaching culture, then when you do try to coach people, they're going to be resistant to it. If you don't have a learning culture, when you do try to introduce some learning, they're going to be resistant to it. If you don't have a culture of growth and improvement, then they're going to be resistant to it. So I want to take you back to that first college coach I told you I was working with that stood up here and said, I want them to get on my level. See, what she had to do was come down, meet them where they are, elevate their level, understand what is going on in their life, make an emotional human investment in them, and say, you're not where you want to be, but thank God you're not where you used to be. Every day in every way we're growing and getting better in a healthy and positive manner. Every day we're moving progress. We're moving the ball down the field. Every day we're getting better. And we're measuring progress versus perfection. The bad coach sits in the perch and talks down. It's interesting to me when I see football coaches that are coaching their team supposedly, but they're standing up in one of those elevated positions that a band director stands up in. And they're looking down on their players and they're yelling through a megaphone to their players about what they should do. Now, I understand why they do it. They're looking for a view to see the whole thing like they're in a press box. But how much coaching can you do when you're sitting up in a perch and talking down to your players versus eyeball to eyeball, elbow to elbow, knee to knee, face to face, right in each other's grill, helping each other out? You see, here's what you got to do. You got to learn to get in the boat. And when you get in the boat and you help other people move their ball down the field, they're going to be more likely to help you move your ball down the field. Too many coaches are very poor at the backstage sale of selling their own team. I don't want you to be a bad coach this week. I don't want you to go out there and use phraseology like they got to get on my page. They got to get better. To some extent, that's true. It's entirely true. It's your team. They need to get on your page. It's your program. I get it. But the reality is, they don't have the bandwidth to play at the level you're playing at. One day they will. One day they may be coaching the team. But right now, you're the leader and they're the follower. I ask you as you go out this week, this is a common myth that I don't want you to fall into. And the myth is that they'll automatically be able to get on your level. And if you don't have a plan for reaching down and meeting with them where they are and not judging them for where they are, but growing them from where they are. That's what a good coach does. I believe there's good coaches in the world and bad coaches. And if you know the principles of a good coach, why in the world would you ever be a bad one? This is Coach Michael Burt signing off for Good Coach, Bad Coach.